So people were calling out these doctors from the Boston Children's Hospital talking about transition therapy for transgender kids. We're talking about. There was another doctor from Pittsburgh Hospital saying that puberty blockers, they're just something that say, hey, let's put a pause on puberty. And people were getting mad. And one person called it stochastic terrorism. One person who is a professor at University of Toronto tagging the RCMP. I mean, this is also just where this is what a mob does. Tag RCMP like they don't have actual crimes to deal with. Hey, RCMP, you need eyes on Billboard Chris. So they're attempting to, this is effectively swatting, by the way. Like, this is a form of digital swatting. And to think it's appropriate and that it shouldn't itself be a crime and that this person, for the greater good, is attempting to sick the RCMP. That's Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the dudes on horses up in Canada. Attempting to sick the police on a private individual. This is no better than swatting. This is swatting of a digital nature. Hey, police, you need eyes on Billboard Chris, who's engaging in stochastic terrorism and eliminationist rhetoric concerning trans and LGBTQ plus people. He is literally, this seems like a Rachel Maddow, literally, inciting people to harm medical professionals. And we have hate speech laws. Do it now before someone. Hashtag every fear hides a wish. So just appreciate what's going on. You haven't seen the tweet from Billboard Chris because he's literally inciting harm on literally, which means he must have said, go out and harm medical professionals. What was the tweet? This, apparently. This message has been sent to all employees of Boston Children's Hospital. The employees who sent this to me said they are getting hammered. Metaphorical as in they are getting flack, blowback, negative feedback for this advisor. Sorry, not for the advisor. The advisor is saying they're getting blowback because of public statements they've made about procedures that they give to children who say they want to transition. But this person who is accusing someone of stochastic terrorism, are we looking at the same thing? Stochastic terrorism and eliminationist rhetoric by literally inciting harm where there was no literal and there was no incitement of any harm. Tag the police, get them in trouble. The person's name is Dr. Ruth is kicking against the pricks, talking about rhetoric of harm, kicking against the pricks. Tag is what the F is to be done, and a professor at University of Toronto. Stochastic terrorism, people. And then you got celebrated the fact that providers at Boston's Children's Hospital are being harassed and receiving death threats. I don't think that's what he was doing at all. At all. Unless criticizing and then sharing the email that they got internally saying, we've been getting a lot of harassment, a lot of aggressive messages coming in. And here's an advisory. And he says, this is what someone sent me. Apparently, and I'm quoting the person who sent it to me, they're getting hammered and they take this as stochastic terrorism. And what did he say? Celebrating the fact that they're receiving death threats. I don't see any celebration in there. And I don't know Billboard Chris well, although I've now come to talk with him and we might actually do a live stream together. I know a bit about his story. I don't think Chris is that type of person to celebrate violence, to celebrate threats. I think that, if I dare say, is a little confession through projection. A little people imputing on others what they themselves actually feel when it's the right kind of threats, the right kind of intimidation. And I said, I don't think that's what's going on here. In Billboard Chris's tweet, but are people not allowed expressing their discontent with doctors who tell parents and children that puberty blockers are just a way of saying, hey, let's just put a pause on puberty.
Puberty blockers are basically a medication that says, hey, let's just put a pause on puberty. Puberty blockers are basically a medication that says, hey, let's just put a pause on puberty.
And now, so nobody accuses me of just taking that out of context and for the sake of it. The fuller clip
My name is Priya Dar.
is even more shocking.
Hi, my name is Priya Dar. I'm one of the doctors at the Center for Adolescent and Young Adult Health here at the Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh. I wanted to talk to you guys today a little bit about puberty blockers. Puberty blockers are basically a medication that says, hey, let's just put a pause on puberty. And that can be really beneficial for younger kids who have already started the puberty process, who either might go through a lot of psychological distress as they go through puberty if they're struggling with gender dysphoria, or for somebody who's saying, hey, I'm not really sure if I feel comfortable in my body or what gender
hey doctor,
I truly identify with.
Hey doctor, are you telling me that the only consequence to puberty blockers is they just say very politely to your hormones of a developing child, let's put a pause on puberty. We'll get back to you, puberty, when we're ready, if we decide to, and no other consequences than that? Puberty comes right back when you're 20 years old, 18, 22? Is that what you're saying, doctor? Because I don't think that that's factually, scientifically, medically correct. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm just a lawyer. If that is in fact what you're saying, am I allowed expressing my outrage? Am I allowed saying, I think this in a normal, sane universe probably qualifies as child abuse? Am I allowed saying that? If I say that, doctor, because we do live in a world that respects freedom of speech, is that wrong? Am I not allowed saying that? Is me expressing politely and respectfully my discontent with what I think is egregious, over-the-top misinformation, or at the very least concealment of detrimental information that qualifies as abusing of children? Am I engaging in stochastic terrorism because I do that? Is now any form of public scrutiny, public critique, stochastic terrorism? Celebrating in the threats that might come. And by the way, people, again, I'll say it every day, don't threaten people. Don't send those emails, because those emails then come back and are used to say, look, now you can't even criticize us because it's stochastic terrorism. Hold on, I want to bring this up here. Someone is enlightening us. You can make a truth account on PC, but that's well, I have a Mac, so I can't do that. Telling the RCMP to investigate someone over Twitter is just virtue signaling, as the RCMP doesn't follow tweets up. Don't give them any ideas, Stephen. They're going to call in the police this time. Hopefully, get laughed out of the room, or maybe get a ticket for phoning in false claims. I'm not getting into that. I'm your guy, buddy, but maybe I'll ask Barnes if he can do a hush hush on that. What I wanted to get was the super chat explaining what stochastic meant. Looks like it, like a great many other fancy words, is rooted in the Greek word stochasm, which is to think, basically thought terrorism, accurate. Well, hold on a second, Alexandros Marinos. Which one is the thought terrorism in this? Is the thought terrorism the one that says you can't criticize because it's terrorism? It's interesting, actually. Stochastic. Now I'm wondering what staccato means. If staccato has anything to do with stochastic. Has a root in the Greek word stochasm, which is to think. Stochasm, basically a thought. Interesting. But that is, I mean, people don't need to be told not to threaten and not to harass, because the people who do it, it's like the whole law-abiding citizen versus criminals. The people who do it don't need to be told that it's wrong. They're doing it despite knowing it's wrong for a variety of other reasons. It's counterproductive. I don't think it's right, and I don't think it does good for anybody. And also, don't do it. It's illegal. But expressing your discontent. How about if they're getting hammered because they're just getting flooded by parents saying, what the hell are you saying online? Why is the Boston Children's Hospital now apparently coming out as trans rights activists and putting a message out there, which is probably going to influence people and not treat existing people with... People know when they have issues that need to be treated, that they go to a doctor. I have a problem with advertising medications in general. This is beyond advertising medications. This is activism for what is designated by the DSM-5 as gender dysphoria, a mental issue that is categorized in the DSM-5. And they're basically promoting it, amplifying it. And it's an amazing thing what happens when people do this. More people start thinking about it. More people start thinking they have it, and it becomes a social issue and not a medical one. Gender dysphoria is a medical term. It's a medical condition. I won't say a medical issue. It's a medical condition. That's why it's identified. That's why there's treatments. That's why there's therapy. But now they're coming out and wholesale publicizing and marketing transition therapy, puberty blockers on the basis that all that they do, according to this doctor, is say, hey, puberty, let's just put a pause on that. It's no bigger than that. And if parents come, it just puts a pause on it so I can get back to it in 4 years. And then 4 years later, what's that? I'm not responding to puberty. Does nobody know what happened with these Russian gymnasts, with gymnasts in general, because of the exertion that they output in sports? It stunts their development because it delays their puberty, it delays their period, so they don't develop, which is why, they end up having certain specifically identifiable physiques. And I say it without judgment. Oh no. And then when they're 18, 19, they say, you know what? It was just a phase. I found other ways to cope with it. Oh, sorry about that. You're never going through normal puberty. Your bone density is never going to get to where it would have otherwise been. Oh, what's that? You might have actually had a double mastectomy like Chloe Cole, who I just started following on Twitter. Too late for that. Oh, we can rebuild those things, but not the mammary glands in them. So enjoy the rest of your life, because as a kid, you had parents who were following medical advice that said, puberty blockers, just put a pause on it. Mastectomies, just remove them. We can rebuild later. Brandon Lesko says these people are either mentally ill, trying to use cognitive dissonance to create a void to fill, or just crazy. Aren't they engaged in stochastic terrorism by continually putting random variables into thought arguments? Aren't they guilty of stochastic harassment, or stochastic? What's the word I just said earlier? When the cops come, stochastic swatting, by just going out on Twitter, tagging the police, and trying to get people in trouble for a tweet. Not a threatening tweet, not a harassing tweet, not a criminal tweet, a tweet. Tweet.